Welcome back to another video, and in today's video, we are back with yet another tier list. Today, we are going to be doing the NFL quarterback tier list. I think I did one earlier in the year. This is the end of season recap from every single team. The reason why I have the logos instead of the actual quarterbacks is because most of the tier lists that I can find, they have not the actual starter or they have too many people. So I'm just going to go with the teams and then I'll tell you the starter and do it. So at the top of the elite quarterbacks, below that we have the very solid quarterbacks, below that we have the average quarterbacks, below that we have the meh quarterbacks, and below that we have the garbage quarterbacks. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. Please sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We are currently at 211 subscribers on the road to 300. If you're new, please ensure if you guys like the content, subscribe to this channel. It's the best you can do and it helps me out a lot. So, let's get into this tier list. If this video could do well and can get a good amount of likes and you guys seem to like it, I will do a part 2, but this time with running backs. Basically, just an end of season recap because the NFL season ended, so I'm doing a bunch of NFL stuff. So, let's get into this tier list. So, first up, we have the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm going to go with Kyler Murray here. And I know he didn't play the full season, but I'm just going to go with their main quarterback unless there's one that's like he he deserves to be on that spotlight, but I don't really think that Trace McSorley deserves it. So we're going to start with Kyler Murray. Honestly, this year pretty average. I mean, again, injuries made his year kind of short, but still, I mean, he kind of is quite an unbalanced quarterback. I feel like he makes some amazing plays, and then other times he looks like Sam Ellinger, and I don't know what side you're going to get from him. I'm just going to put him at average. Cardinals right now are not playing great, and he honestly is a pretty big reason why. Um, and also, I guess injury concerns, but I think he's still an average quarterback right now. Hype has not really lived up. He's not really lived up to the hype. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm going to go with Desmond Ridder here because Mariota got benched for a reason. Like Kyler Murray was injured. If it got benched, that's like the real starting quarterback. I'm taking Desmond Ridder here. Honestly, showed some signs at the end, but I still have to put them in garbage because Ritter just did not play good when he came in. I think at the start he had more interceptions than touchdowns. The last week of the NFL, he played really really good. He had like 2 touchdowns, like no picks. It was a really really good game for him. But otherwise, he was pretty garbage, and we need to say a bit more. I think he's got potential. He just needs to show it. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens, and that's Lamar Jackson. He's very solid. I wouldn't say he's elite this year because again, injuries are always a big thing with him. And I feel like he just did not play as good this year, but he was still amazing. We know what he can do on his legs. I think when he gets a better throwing arm, and I think his throwing arm is decent, I just think it needs to be a little bit better. When he can improve on the accuracy and the throw power, he could definitely be an elite quarterback. We have seen MVP Lamar Jackson. We know how good he is. Next up, we have the Bills. That is Josh Allen. That is easily an elite. Josh Allen, a top 3 quarterback in my books. I would say he's right now number 2 or 3, at 3 probably right now. I think Hurts and Mahomes are just a little bit ahead, but Allen's still amazing. I mean, just the build makes him so dangerous on his legs, but he can also throw the ball 100 yards. He can run in your face. He has good accuracy. He's all you want. Now, what I will say about Josh Allen that I do worry about, he does make some lousy interceptions at some point, but I don't really care about that when he's throwing up the numbers that he has this year. So I'm just gonna put him in elite. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers, and at the end of the year, Sam Darnold. I mean, Darnold was kind of playing kind of meh. I mean, actually, see, he was playing decent, but I know who Sam Darnold is, so I'm gonna put him in meh. I just don't know if Sam Darnold's really the option for the Carolina Panthers. I think he worked better than Baker Mayfield. When Baker Mayfield left, he played a lot better, but I still don't think Sam Darnold is a starting quarterback of mine. I think he's a backup quarterback. He can work on some teams, and he can be decent if he needs to come in, but he's just not a starter. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields. This year, Justin Fields was very solid. Fields played amazing. Fields had a great year. I loved Fields' year. I think he played great. Not only did he get more comfortable in the pocket, he finally started being able to use his legs, which we saw in college, and he started being able to do that, and that was a big plus for him. But also, he was able to be accurate with his throws, and his ratio from touchdowns to interceptions was a lot better than his rookie year. He had a very, very solid year, and he's definitely got some potential in this league. Next up, we have the Bengals. That is Joe Burrow, and that's an elite. Joe Burrow had one of the best years of his career. I know it's been a short career, but still one of the best years of his career. He another amazing year. I know you can always talk about the offensive weapons, and he's getting like lucky with all those weapons. My guy is still playing great. Great pass accuracy. He's a great leader. Can throw the ball. And what I like about Joe Burrow a lot is he's consistent. He's not going to give you any bad games. At the start of the year, he did struggle, but after that, he was just money. Bengals, the reason why they're in the playoffs, a main reason why is because of Joe Burrow. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns. I guess it's Deshaun Watson. Kind of meh. I'm not going to put him in garbage because we know what Deshaun Watson can do as a person. Terrible. But we know what he can do on the field. So I'm not going to put him in garbage because we know what he can bring. But he was not good this year at all, honestly. When he came back from his suspension, he just did not look like himself. And honestly, I thought Jacoby Brissett was better than him this year. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Prescott was kind of average this year. I'm not even going to lie to you. Prescott was kind of average. Just, I don't think Prescott did that well. I mean, you can look at Prescott's stats. It was he just threw way too many interceptions. That was his only problem. And honestly, I think he was trying to be conservative from still all the injuries, trying not to run as much. But he just didn't look like as good of a quarterback. He still has a great arm, and we know he's got a great arm, but didn't show it as much as I want. So we'll see if he comes alive in the playoffs or not. Next up, we have the I said the Broncos. We have the Broncos, which is going to be Russell Wilson. I'm going to put Russell Wilson in that. And you know what? I hated on this guy a little bit too much. When Nate Hackett got fired, the Broncos started playing better and he started playing better. I still think Russell Wilson's a good quarterback. I actually do think he is a good quarterback. He was treated unfairly and he deserves it better. And once again, a new coach in Cincinnati, he'll be good. But going off of this season's stats, he was pretty meh, if not garbage. But I know that Russell Wilson cannot be like that. We know how good of a quarterback he is. Next up, we have Jared Goff. Honestly, I'm so close to putting this guy in elite because he had such an elite year. Do I just bite into it and put him in elite? I'm putting him top of very, very solid. I know we're not ordering, but for this one we can because I think he deserves it. I mean, he had a ridiculously year. The offense thrived, and he's the only reason why they had a winning record, in my opinion. Jared Goff played great. Basically, he's an elite quarterback. I just can't put him there yet. I need to see a couple. I need to see like one more year, like a little bit of the season more, and then I'll easily put that in. But he's top of very, very solid. Next up, we have Aaron Rodgers. I gotta put him in average. I still don't think that he played that great this year, and I think he could be even meh. But it's still Aaron Rodgers. It's still what is he now? A four-time MVP, two-time in a row MVP. Well, now he's not gonna be this year, but I think Aaron Rodgers, even if with a bad year, he still had decent numbers. I just think he just needs a bit more weapons, and I think he could still be something special. Next up with the Texans, Davis Mills, garbage. I really thought Davis Mills was going to be a lot better of a quarterback this year, and he has showed that he was not it. I had a bit of promise with him at the end of the last year. I thought he was actually going to be a decent, average quarterback, but he just went completely opposite direction, and the Texans were awful. Next up, we have, I guess this is Sam Ellinger with the Colts. It's not really Matt Ryan, is it? Sam Ellinger, we have seen some potential for him, but I'm going to put it in garbage right now because we really haven't seen too much. I need to see a little bit more from Sam Ellinger before I can put him in that meh or average tier, but he has shown some sparks of potential. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's going to be Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is a very solid quarterback, especially this year. Second year, I guess sophomore slump. It was more of a freshman slump than a sophomore. I don't know. He just went off. This year he went off. I mean, he had a great year. Not only did the offense thrive with him, but also I feel like the whole team played better with Trevor Lawrence as the quarterback. And I feel like what stood out is last year he was the most or second most interceptions in the league. This year he cut that down so much. He was a menace. Top 10 quarterback in the league by far, I think, this year. Next will be the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes. He's been there every single year, but you gotta put him in elite. In my mind, I think he is the. I think he's still the best quarterback in the league. I think he is. I think maybe Jalen Hurts makes a conversation or Josh Allen, but I think Mahomes is still the favorite. Mahomes is just so good. Like for a guy that you I don't know how to explain it, but like he doesn't really run too much. But my goodness, when he's in the pocket and when he can have enough time, guaranteed touchdown every single time. Mahomes is something different, not a human at all. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, and that's going to be Justin Herbert. And although Herbert had a bit of a, I guess, down year, he was still very, very good. I think he is still very solid. Not quite elite because he did struggle a little bit this year in some games, but I think he's still a great quarterback. They're in the playoffs. They had a decent season, and I think he's going to do well in the playoffs. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams. I'm gonna be honest, Matthew Stafford was garbage this year. I hate to do it to them, but Matthew Stafford was so bad. Stafford just was not as good of a quarterback as he could have been. And honestly, when he didn't have Cooper Kupp, he was even worse. I think it just shows that he kind of just was only with Cooper Kupp, and if he didn't have Cooper Kupp, he was gonna be terrible. Even with Cooper Kupp, he was pretty bad. Like he was just throwing interceptions, not making good plays, and then he got injured, and then that's the end of the season. I mean, it was a very, very bad year. Again, kind of a short sample size, but I'm putting him in garbage because of how he played. Next up is Derek Carr. Again, I gotta give him an average. I do think he could be very, very solid, but again, I think the Raiders are not giving him really a fair chance. I think he is a good quarterback. I believe he can be a good quarterback, but right now, he's kind of average. He's just playing decent, well enough, and I think he deserves more of a chance. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. That's me, Tua Tagovailoa. I'm putting this guy in very solid, and I know Tua has dealt with injuries, and I know that's a big concern. But the Dolphins, you gotta keep him. You gotta keep your man Tua. You just have to do it. Tua is an unbelievable quarterback. Unbelievable quarterback. If he can, in it, like this year, he's had games where he's gone off and other games where he's struggled. I think his thing that needs to work on is accuracy because there's some games where he throws a lot of picks. But my goodness, when Tua has the ball in his hands, it's guaranteed basically reception to either Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle every single time. Next up with the Vikings and Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins had a great year, but it's between average and very, very solid for me. This is tough. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what to do here. I'm putting him in very solid. He had a great year. He did have a very good year, and he was a big reason why the Vikings had a 13-win record. I'll give him credit for that. He had a big year. I think one of his best years of his career. And I wouldn't say he's still worth the money that Minnesota paid him, but he's starting to be worth it if he can keep it up. Next up, we have Mac Jones of the New England Patriots. Mac Jones is average, and I know a lot of people are going to say he's meh. I think he still is average. I think he's a decent quarterback. Look at Mac Jones's weapons around him. Do you see anybody above a star wide receiver? Nobody. Nobody. Sorry, under a star wide receiver. The best wide receiver they have probably is like Devontae Parker or Kendrick Bourne. It's awful, and I don't know what else to say. I think New England needs to give Mac Jones a fair chance because they just need to get him some weapons, and he's going to be really, really good. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints, and I guess that's going to be Andy Dalton. He played pretty average this year, I'm not going to lie. He actually made the Saints quite a better team, actually, than Jameis Winston. I was hoping Jameis Winston was going to be good. I had him on my fantasy team, and obviously he disappointed me. But honestly, although the Saints kind of struggled at the end of the year, I wouldn't say that's totally Dalton's fault. And I actually think he had quite a decent year for being a, I guess, backup. Next up with the New York Giants and Daniel Jones. He's almost very solid. He's just quite average. I think if he could have a bit more weapons, he could show why he should be very solid or even elite. But right now, we need to see him see how he does in the playoffs and grade accordingly and see if he can move up. I think if he can have like OBJ back or like Sterling Shepard fully healthy, I think he could be really, really good. Next up, we have with the New York Jets. I mean, Zach Wilson's been garbage. I don't even know if it's Zach Wilson, Mike White, or Joe Flacco. But at this point, they just I'm just gonna call them the Jets quarterbacks because they all are garbage. Jets had a decent year. If they had a good quarterback, I guarantee you right now, if they had an average to elite quarterback, they would be in the playoffs. Fight me on that. Like literally, they would be in the playoffs. But right now they're stuck with Zach Wilson, and that's just not good at all. Next up with the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts. Not really need to talk about this too much. He's still elite. I mean, he's amazing. Did have a struggling last game of the week, but also came off of an injury. I expect nothing less than amazing in the playoffs, and Jalen Hurts is just one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Not much else to be said. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Steelers, and that is Kenny Pickett. Pickett, I know his potential. I'm going to put him in there right now because he did play for most of the year, and he did he did have some like sparkling, like bright moments, but he did kind of play meh this year. I know he's got potential. I know he can be good, but right now he is meh. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith. Very solid. I know Geno Smith kind of cooled off near the end of the year, but he still had an amazing year. I'm super, super happy with him. I think he had a great year. Unfortunately, I want the Niners to win, obviously. Um, so I'm not going to be rooting for him in the playoffs. But Geno Smith still had a great year. I'm happy for him. I think he played great. Great comeback player. He's probably going to win comeback player of the year. Next up with the Niners, and I'm actually going to go with Brock Purdy here because he's basically played for almost half the year. And honestly, he's probably been the best Niners quarterback. And he's been very, very solid. And I know I'm being Am I being biased? I don't think I am being biased here though. Brock Purdy in his what 6 or 7 starts, I think it's 6 starts, has won every single game, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. If those stats don't scream at least an average, if not very, it should be very solid quarterback, then I don't know what else to say. I know it's a short sample size, but I'm going to give him credit because he really has made the Niners almost better in a weird way, and I think Brock Purdy's the main reason why. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey also, but still. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. I'm not going to lie, Tom Brady, he had an average year. For Tom Brady, he had an average year, and I hate to say it, but Tom Brady had an average year, and I think he's going to struggle in the playoffs against the Cowboys. I think that defense is going to cause him harm, and I don't know what he's really going to do about it. He just had a bad year, honestly. I mean, a bad year still average for him, but the Bucks as a whole just were not that good. Next up with the Tennessee Titans, and I guess it's going to be. I'm still going to give the edge to Ryan Tannehill because I think he is the starting quarterback there. Tannehill was mad this year. Unfortunately, he was mad before that. He's probably average or very, very solid. The Titans just didn't look as good, and I think he might be a big contributor to that. I just think he had some games where he played good, but most games he was pretty meh. Next up, and finally, last but not least, we have the Washington Commanders, and I guess you have to give it to Carson Wentz because he played most of the games and he played at the end of the year. Carson Wentz is garbage. I thought he had a little bit of potential when he went to Indy and he started playing better, but when he went to Washington, all that fell off a cliff, and he was absolutely terrible. And that's the end of my cheers. If you guys like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are new, please make sure to turn on those notifications and subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. And 10 likes, and I will do running backs soon as well if you guys like this. And that's the end of my video. If you guys like this video, so make sure to leave a like. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!